Hi everyone. Welcome to another video of system design. So today we are going to look into an interesting topic and also an important topic called designing of a web crawler. So as you can see on the screen, so there are 4 points which we'll be covering in this introductory video. So first we'll be looking into what is web crawler and why do we need a web crawler. Then we'll be looking into the requirements or characteristics of the web crawler for our design, and we'll do some back of the envelope calculations before moving forward with our design. So without wasting any time, let's look into each of these components in today's video. So first is, what is web crawler? So what is web crawler? So we'll first know what is this before designing it, right? So a web crawler, as the name suggests, it is also like a robot or a spider, you can say. So it crawls on the web pages, like it recursively visits web pages, goes through the links in that web pages, and forward with that links they move forward to that pages and gather information for our use cases. So it crawls on various web pages available over the internet in a recursive manner. So let's understand this with a simple example, and this is very easy to understand. So suppose I have a web page and there I have some URLs, like let's say a.com, b.com, c.com, right? And what our web crawler will do is, like, it will come, let's say this is our web crawler, so I'll write it, yeah. So web crawler comes, it visits each individual links, download the web pages. Now once it's downloaded, let's say I visit this page, web page. In this web page, let's say I have a1.com link, a11.com link, a12.com link, like this, and there will be multiple links in this a.com web page. So what web crawler will do, it will again individually go through each of these links and download these web pages and visit the web page. So it will now, after it sees the URL, it enters into its list, download the web page, and now it visits this web page, and recursively it will continue crawling on the links which are present on these web pages. Similar thing happens for b.com also, and similar c.com. Yes, and this will continue in a recursive manner. Okay, so now we have an idea of how web crawler works in a very high level. So what is the purpose, or where do we use actually a web crawler? So if you look some of the use cases of a web crawler, so first is, so we'll discuss now the use cases of a web crawler. So first is search engine index. So what happens here is, like, this thing actually helps us in viewing pages which are very much relevant to our keywords which we put in the search bar. So by this search engine, you have now made an idea, like the famous search engine Google also uses a web crawler. Google has its own web crawler called Googlebot. You can read more about it. I'll post the link regarding Googlebot. It's an interesting topic, you can go through it. And let's say how this search engine index happens, or how does web crawler helps us in search engine index. So it basically visits a web page, and like the web crawler functionality, it visits the multiple links, and along with that, whenever it visits a link, it gathers some metadata. Whenever it visits certain links recursively, it gathers some metadata. So what this metadata is, like, this could be like the URL link, the title of the web page, and various keywords it can collect and store. And suppose I have a web page, it says example.com. Along with, into this web page there is a link which redirects me to, let's say, example.com/flights, and I put a keyword in the search engine like flights example. Let's say this is an scenario which I am just describing, like how things work. So what web crawler has done by this time is like it has searched over the internet, it has all those links, it has indexed them and put into the search engine index according to the keywords and the metadata which it has collected, and by the search query which I have put in the search engine, it matches with the second index here, and thus it will first put this link in the search menu whenever we put this keyword. So this is one of the functionality of web crawler, like indexing of web pages and thereby making it user friendly for a particular user searching with a particular keyword. So this is one of the use case. Another is like web archiving. Like this is the method to collect information from the web to preserve various data for future uses. Like you can, this is helpful for various big libraries to store various data of books which can be used later for a user or a reader to get those information or get those books for his or her purpose. Another is like web mining. With huge amount of data now available all over the internet, web crawler can gather various amount of data from various web pages which can be used for various analytical purposes and for various business purposes. So this is one of the use case. Another is like web monitoring. What is this web monitoring? Like it can monitor various copyrights or infringements which might happen whenever you upload something or you are using something, or you and something similar to this, like trademark infringements. So while designing a web crawler, things can go from small web crawler, like maybe it can be a school project, to it can be a huge engineering team dedicated to work on this web crawler. So before diving into our design, we should clarify some of the characteristics or requirements which we can have a discussion with the interviewer while designing your web crawler. Like what are the current requirement you need to fulfill to design your web crawler. So what we can ask with the interviewer and get an idea of some of the questions which we could have, some of the discussions which we could have with the interviewer is like, what is the main purpose? Like we have seen various purposes in the above, just I have mentioned, like web mining, search engine index, and web archiving, web monitoring, and various other purposes. So what is the main purpose we are building this web crawler? So let's say we are doing it for search engine index. So the next question is like, how many pages does the web crawler visit per month? Number of visits per month, let's say it's 1 billion pages per month. Another important is like, which is important for designing your web crawler, is like, does my web crawler only looks over the HTML content, or does it look over the PDF content, image content, and what else does it look over? We can have a discussion, and let's say what does, so the question would be like, or you can discuss what content types are looked over. Let's say we have only currently look over HTML content, right? So next is like, should we consider new or updated web pages? This could be your next question, and answer might be yes, right? Another is like, for how many years do we need to store? For how many years do we store right? So let's say this is 5 years, and another is like, can we do and can we ignore duplicated duplicate web pages? And this, I think the interviewer would say yes only. Yeah. So these are some of the questions which we could go or have a discussion with the interviewer. So we have an basic idea requirement for our designing of web crawler. So another certain basic functionalities your web crawler should also follow, or should look like as a requirement of your web crawler, is like, this is like scalability. What is scalability meaning here is like, web crawling, since there are huge number of pages present on the website, so web crawler, to handle them efficiently or look over them efficiently, can follow parallelization, right? Parallelization, yes. So this is, in this way we can handle the scalability of, so let's say the web is very large, there are billions of pages out there, so web crawling should be extremely efficient using parallelization. Second is like robustness. So what does robustness mean here is like, the web pages are maybe full of traps, the server has crashed, or there may be malicious links all over the internet. So your web crawler must handle those edge cases. Like, what are some of the edge cases? Like mad HTML content, or unresponsive servers, or malicious links. So all these should be handled, should be taken care of by our designing of web crawler. Okay, so this is one of the criteria. Another is like politeness. So what does politeness mean? Like, web crawler, while looking over the web pages, like going recursively to links and making requests to a particular web page a huge number of times in a short span, so this thing should be avoided. So web crawler shouldn't make too many requests to a website in short span of time. It can make requests to a website, but in short span of time, too many requests should be avoided. And the last and final thing which we should take care of is like extensibility. So what is extensibility? So till now we have confined our looking over the web pages to HTML content only. So let's say, suppose in future I also want images. So what extensibility says is like, my web crawler should be flexible enough that is, with minimal changes I can include image content also. So these are some of the characteristics our web crawler should follow. So these are like scalability, robustness, politeness, and extensibility. So by following this, our web crawler design would be very much efficient, since you can see what are the use cases they are handling. And along with that, some of the questions or the discussions which we had with the interviewer, we will be using these requirements to design our web crawler. So before diving deep into the designing and discussing about that, let's make some back of the envelope calculations to see how much storage we would require. So let's do some back of the envelope calculation. Yes. So how much queries per second. So you remember we discussed 1 billion web pages it would be visiting. Here we mentioned, right, 1 billion web pages per month. So queries per second would calculate to 10 to the power 9 divided 30 per day, 24 hours and 3600. So it approximates to 400 pages per second. And we know peak QPS could be like double, so it's like 800. We assume the web page size is 500k or kilobytes. So to store, how much storage required? For 5 years, let's calculate. So we had 1 billion page visits in a month. So 1 billion multiplied by 500k. So this is in a month. So in a year, this is it, and in a 5 years, this is the value. So total it approximates to 30 petabytes of storage we would be requiring for 5 year to store 5-year content. So this is one of the short back of the envelope calculation to just have an idea of how much storage required to store this 5-year content while the web crawler visits various multiple web pages on the internet. So now let's look into some high level designing of the web crawler with the requirements which we just discussed. So in the next video we will be looking into the high level designing of our web crawler with all our requirements. So thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video.